Hello everyone, in this tutorial we will be learning how to create an API out of our Lambda function. If you are not aware of the AWS Lambda function, please feel free to view our previous videos where we have explained how to create a Lambda function. So now let's start creating our API for our Lambda function. So we will be using the API gateway service provided by AWS. So now in order to access the service, we need to click on the service tab where it will be listing us all the services provided by AWS. So now inside this application services we have this API gateway which we will be using. Now click on this API gateway link which will take us to the API page. So now here we will be clicking on this create API to create our first API. So now we are supposed to give a name for our API. So for the tutorial purpose I will be using post API as the name of our API. After giving on that API name, if you want to add any description you can add it over here. Then click on the create API button. So now it will take us to the resources page of our API. Now click on this action button and select create method. It will show us the list of methods that are there available. Now we will be using post method for this tutorial. So select post and click OK by clicking on the tick button. Now we will be integrating it with our Lambda function. So we will be having the Lambda function radio button checked on. Next we are supposed to give the region where we have created our Lambda function. So if you want to find out the Lambda region, you can see which is the region given over here, but it won't be helping us in finding out which region we actually want. So if you want to find out your actual region according to the drop down menu, you can go to the URL and you can find something like region equal to. The text that follows that region is the region which we want. So in our case the region is AP-Southeast-1. So I will be selecting AP-Southeast-1 and now I will be specifying which function or which Lambda function I will be using to set up this API. So in the function which we made was the get post tutorial. So now I have selected that particular function and next I will be clicking on the save button. So it will be asking permission to invoke the Lambda function. So I will be clicking on OK. So now it will be redirecting it to the method execution section. Now we have completed creating our method. So let's check whether the method that we are creating is working correctly or not. So in order to do that, we will click on this test link which will be taking us to the test page, and inside this request body we will be giving the key value pass which we have given over there. So after giving that key value pass inside this request body, we will be selecting this test button to check whether our method that we have created is working or not. So if you see in under this response body we are getting value 1 which was the same value which we were getting in our Lambda function. So this says that our Lambda function is successfully working, or the post method that we have created is successfully able to communicate with the Lambda function that we have created. The next thing which we want to do is to deploy the API. So I will be clicking on the action button and I will be selecting the deploy API. So in this it will be asking for a deployment stage where we will be selecting on the new deployment stage, and we are supposed to give a stage name for this particular deployment. So I will be giving the stage name as post API final. So now I will be clicking on this deploy button which will be deploying our API. Now it will be taking us to this post API final stage editor where we will be exporting our API as a Postman extension. So now I will be using this JSON as the extension, or I will be exporting it as a JSON extension. So when I click on this JSON, it will be asking me for saving this file. So I will be saving this particular JSON file on my desktop. So now the JSON file has been successfully created. Next let us see how to use this post method to communicate with the Lambda function. So in order to do that, we will be using the Postman app provided by the Google Chrome Web Store. So when I click on this, if you have not installed this app in your PC, it will be asking us for a install button. Since I have already installed this app, it is asking for me to launch this app. So when I click on that launch app, it will be taking me to the apps page. So now we are in the dashboard of the Postman app. So here we are supposed to import our JSON file which we have downloaded earlier. So when I click on this import, it will ask for the JSON file which we want to import. So click on this choose file, it will take us to the desktop where we have downloaded our JSON file. So the name of the JSON file which I have downloaded is this post API swagger postman. So I will be opening this particular JSON file and it will be listing the JSON file in the left hand side window. So if you see, this post API is the JSON file which we have loaded. So I will be clicking on this particular link which will be taking me to the post API finals JSON file. So whenever we want to send a post request, we need to add some data to the body. So now in order to add those data, click on this body menu. It will take us to the place where we can add our data. So in this case, we will be giving a raw data. So when I click on this raw radio button, it will be showing me a text editor where I can enter the data. So here I will be entering the key and the value pass which will be sent along with the post request. So now I already added the data, and when I click on the send button, it will be sending the post request to our Lambda function and it will be getting us the return value. So if you guys are able to get this value 1, or if you guys are able to get some value, it states that your post request is working successfully, and you can also check out the status and the time taken for our particular post method. Next, let us see how to use Python programming language to send a post request. So here we will be using two libraries. The first one is the request library which is used to send a post request, and the next one is the JSON library which is used to convert the payload or the data to a JSON type. So first thing that is required is the payload or the data that we want to send, and the next one is the URL of our API. So now in order to get the URL of our API, we need to visit the API gateway page, and if you see, this invoke URL is the URL of our API. So now I will be assigning this URL to a variable URL, and then to send a post request, I will be using the post method of our post requests library. So along with this post method, the first parameter that I will be passing is the URL of our API, and the second parameter that I will be passing is the payload converted to JSON. So that is nothing but data equal to JSON dot dumps of our payload. So now when I press enter, I will be sending a post request to our URL, and this will send us a response back which will be saved in this variable called as R. So when I press on R, it will send us the response type. So here in this case the response is 200. It means that it is a success, or the status is success. So now in order to view the content of that response, I will be typing r.content which will be giving me the return type of our Lambda function. So now if you see, even our postman got the same response type or as response content, and our Python programming or code also got the same content. So now if you see, the type of this r.content will be a JSON type. So now we need to convert this particular JSON type to our normal string. So to do that, we will be using this method called JSON.loads, and inside this we will be giving the content. So when I press enter, you can see we have got the actual return type in a Unicode data type. So this is how we will be using Python to send a post request. Thank you for watching.